Hello everyone, this is part 31 of What If Naruto Learned the Secret of Shadow Clone, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
The sun rose on the island nation of Azushio and its people. Today would be no different for a majority of the populace, between construction, travel and now that spring was sending along orders, engineering commissions. In one office the tired but dedicated leader toiled away at one thing every cage struggled with. Dreaded paperwork. While Naruto was happy to use his clones to cheat his way past it, having free time did nothing for him today. Only a day since returning from glassing Orochimaru and nearly dying, everyone in Foxton had heard the story, and all of them had been cross with him since. Sighing heavily while Gosu and Isaribi stand guard, Naruto considers his options for today. Hinata was staying close, acting as a secretary and vetting his visitors, while Ino and Tayuya had opted to help out Tsunami with the refugees. Kotohime and Kayuki both were back in spring, a potential meeting between Daimyo coming up, and Karen and Honoka were as usual down in the lab working together. Flipping through a paper while three clones sit off to the side doing the same, Naruto hopes Riptide Team 1 are doing well and call him soon. Anything to get him from behind this lonely desk. Stomach growling, Naruto heaves another sigh as he reads through a neighborhood report from the civilian bureaucracy about the schools. Man, maybe I need a break. Ramen sounds real good right about now. Naruto hoped the girls hadn't gotten to Ayami. She was always fun and full of gossip for the day and he needed someone cheerful to take a break with. Maybe a lunch date would break some of the ice with Hinata. Ayami had integrated with Azushio quickly, though she was planning to make a tour of the nations soon to expand her horizons. Behind his left shoulder, Isaribi cleared her throat. I don't think that's the best of ideas, Lord Uzumaki. The ladies of your house have made it clear that you are to stay put and rest. Grunting and turning to look back towards her, Naruto tried an easy-going grin as he hooked a thumb over his shoulder. Oh come on. We can get lunch together. You both can guard me and make sure I don't do anything I'm not supposed to. Naruto wiggled his eyebrows and tried some more conspiratorial tone. I'm your superior, I can order you to come along. Isaribi shook her head quickly. Of course you could, Lord Uzumaki. However, idly her eyes trailed to the open door where she could see Lady Hinata happily working through a stack of paperwork of her own, sorting and deciding what would be coming his way next. I'll have to say that the Uzumaki women are much more terrifying than you. Scoffing and resting a cheek in a hand as he leaned on the table, Naruto mumbled with a bit of irritation, you just don't know any better. I can be scary. Give him 10 seconds and some Kurama chakra and he'd have some cage pissing their pants. Damn straight you would. At least someone remembers how awesome I am. Your women will still kill you though. Traitor. Isaribi regains his attention, eyes large as she attempts to pout. Are you really going to refuse the words of a cute woman, Lord Uzumaki? Lady Ino said you were better than that. Grunting again and waving her off, Naruto wouldn't admit out loud that he was a sucker for cute girls. Not today at least. Pussy. Shut it, or I'll cut you off from my senses. You wouldn't dare. Wanna bet? Yes I do. In the end Naruto didn't respond, because they both knew he wouldn't. By this point Kurama was something like her older uncle to him. Pervert and battle maniac though he may be. Behind him and unnoticed as he goes back to his work, Isaribi and Gosu high-five and grin at each other. One minor crisis averted for the moment at the least. Gosu grins and relaxes just a tad. Worry not, Lord Uzumaki. When lunch rolls around I'll be nice and go get ramen for us. So you can stay put. That was the problem, wasn't it? That he couldn't leave the office. The pencil that flew faster than he could track and lodged itself into the wall changed his mind. Lady Hinata hadn't even moved, humming away with a too cheerful smile on her face, but he knew that she threw it. Second thought, staying on guard is for the best. Isaribi was right, the Uzumaki women were terrifying. Naruto sweats a bit but nods, yeah, probably for the best. Hearing papers ruffling and looking up, Naruto and the others watch as one of the ninja receptionists, the dark-skinned blonde and blue-eyed Mihoshi is bouncing her way through the door. Attempting to greet them and carry the paperwork all at once, she ends up tripping and falling flat on her face with a thud. Used to her antics and smiling, Naruto raises a hand, "Yo Mihoshi." Stuck to the floor, the blonde raised a hand, "Good morning Lord Uzumaki." Bright and cheerful as ever, Mihoshi takes some time to gather up her spilled papers before rebuilding the stack and standing at attention. Just a few mission reports to bring to you for inspection and eventual filing. Coming forward to set them down on the desk, leaning forward and unintentionally giving Naruto and the rest a clear view down her shirt, the bubbly girl stands tall and salutes him. Also, Tsunami has registered 3 ninja from the land of rain who have requested an audience with you. They are staying within wave for the moment and had no issues giving their information. Leaning back with a sigh, Naruto thinks it over for a moment. The only ninja he knew from rain would be Conan. So she must have brought friends this time. Her leader perhaps. Or maybe guards. That would be likely. But if they were being honest in registering, he could humor them. "I'm staying here to be on call for an urgent mission. But let them know if they're okay with waiting for a few days that they can have their meeting. At the least, they can have my permission to visit Uzushio proper. Under tight surveillance of course." Nodding and bowing to him, flashing everyone for a second time, Mihoshi smiles and turns to walk away. "I'll pass along the order. Have a good day Lord Uzumaki." Bouncing away in multiple ways, it is Gosu who ends up earning a smack from Isaribi. "Oh come on. That's not my fault. You were looking too." Blushing but looking away, Isaribi scratched her cheek. "Still, don't ogle other girls in front of me at least." "So you can ogle but I can't." "I didn't say that. But you slapped me." "I did. And you ogled her too." "I did." Naruto rolled his eyes. "Come on Gosu, let it go." Having an affronted look, Gosu motions to the angelic Isaribi, but, she slapped me." Sighing again much more heavily, Naruto waved a hand. "Kami, go ogle her together why don't you? Obviously you both like her." When he was met with silence, Naruto turned back to see each of the guards staring at each other. "Seriously?" Isaribi cleared her throat quickly. "We have no idea what you mean Lord Uzumaki." Gosu nodded. "Of course not." Naruto shook his head and gave a glare to his new stack of paperwork. "Sure you don't." Grinning and glad that her lord isn't in the mood to tease them, Isaribi leans to the side a bit. She sure is a bubbly personality. Nodding and picking up a report to read through, Naruto hums, "Yeah, her and her partner, Kian, they even each other out pretty well." Reading along for a few minutes in silence, birds flying by his window as the time ticks by, Naruto flips a page over. "I wonder how Jugo and the others are doing. You wouldn't be stuck here and so worn out if you hadn't forced your Rinnegan to revolve like that." You aren't wrong. Flipping through another page as one of the teachers details the almost necessity of a replacement guard golem, Naruto wants to grin about that but can't. Have you found an issue? How the hell were grade schoolers training the golem to arena fight other golems? That shouldn't be possible at all. No, I don't think at least. One of the skills is different than what I remembered. That ability to will complex seals into existence shouldn't be possible. But you did it. Whatever that technique was against Orochimaru. Not like I remember it. I was pretty loopy between the blood loss and missing an arm. It was like my gravity seal, only magnified by a few thousand times. Or maybe, more like a void. I don't know. I'd have to play with it to recreate it. Kurama shuddered and shook his head. It was terrifying enough the first time. Let's not have a repeat. Geez, 2 techniques shuffled into the forbidden section in a week. That has to be a record. Thinking about it, Naruto does eventually nod as he finishes the report and signs it off. "I'll be more careful, but something about that one I can't let go yet. I have to figure it out. I can't save you if your women decide to beat you into the ground." Fair enough. Naruto moved to grab another file, but was distracted by a hopefully much better reason. Karen was here, smiling brightly and for all appearances happy to see him. Smiling himself, he raises a hand. "Karen, please tell me you're here to take me away to inspect some new work of yours." Shaking her head and dropping a large beaker full of a dark green liquid in front of him, Karen adjusts her glasses and makes them shine. "No can do Naruto. I'm here to deliver this instead." Naruto eyes the beaker, nose crinkling. The smell wasn't horrible. It certainly wasn't something he wanted on his desk though. And what is this? Maybe it was some new medical thing she cooked up. It was just not what he wanted. It's your lunch. Still smiling and now grinning, Karen put her hands on her hips. This is, for me. Yup. Wouldn't something, I don't know, more normal be more fitting? Like, even donburi or takoyaki or. Karen's eyes shadow over as she places both of her hands on the desk and begins to lean over him. I worked hard to make something that has all of the nutrients and vitamins that your body needs to make a full recovery. Because, you did almost die. Eyes going unnecessarily wide, the scientist was still grinning. Against our wishes, might I add. Are you sure you want to complain? Shaking his head quickly, Naruto waved his hands back and forth for extra emphasis. No, of course not. Eyeing the green sludge, Naruto knew there wasn't an escape from this. Guess he should have known better. Any chance I can add something to make it more appetizing? Shaking her head as she stood up straight and her smile stretched back across her face, Karen once more had her hands on her hips. No can do. This has everything your body needs and I don't want to chance tainting that with sweeteners. Plus, you'll have to drink 3 of these a day for 3 days, just in case. Or come on Karen-chan. Have a heart. Trying a different tactic, Naruto leered at her. You know it's not everything my body needs. Let me come visit you and we can figure out the rest. Shaking her head as an ominous rattling sound of chains rubbing together begins to fill the air, the young woman can't help but grin that much more. There will be none of that until we confirm that you are fully recovered. Eyes sharpening and her grin finally dipping down into a frown, Karen eyes her love. Would you like to complain some more? No complaints. I'm good. Splendid. Smiling and turning away, she motions towards Hinata. I'll leave your refills with Hinata. Have a great day. Swaying her hips as she left, Naruto was left behind to sigh and twiddle a finger on his desktop as he eyed his lunch drink. This sucks. He really couldn't complain though. Thinking on it fully, he realized that dying would have meant not only leaving Azushio without a leader, but his family without a husband and father. Yes, there would be times when he would have to fight, but Hinata wasn't wrong. He could have retreated, they could have planned something else out. How long would Orochimaru have lasted without Kabuto? In that form, probably not long. He let his rage blind him, and this was his penance. Reaching forward to grab the beaker, he took a deep breath before chugging half of it in one go. Shuddering as he slammed it down on the desk, he hoped he could work his way back into the girl's good graces. No good food or loving time for 3 days. He might just die. Behind him, Gosu leaned over to Isaribi. If I ever piss you off that much, just kick me in the nuts and get it over with. Isaribi was grinning. I don't know. I like this way of doing things more, I think. This did more damage mentally after all. That was what made a lesson stick. B. To the east and nestled deep in a dense wood, Riptide Team 1 looks over the entrance of a very abandoned and possibly recently raided sound base. Feeling out with his senses, Jugo confirms that he can't feel much of anything in terms of people. No threat meant there would be no reason to call in Lord Naruto. This makes things easier at the least. Sasam hums as they stand together, Kin on his other side. Are you sure we shouldn't just call Lord Naruto, just in case? Kin shook her head, defending Jugo's decision. We should be able to handle things well enough on our own. We can't call our cage to bail us out of every situation. I guess. Jugo nods and leads the way. If we do run into something, we'll call him. Not a moment sooner or later. Hi. Leading the way, Jugo does at least concede that they will have to call their lord eventually. At the minimum, we will have to call him in order to destroy this place. We can't leave a base like this open for anyone. Kin sighed and considered that one of us should start working on learning seals and the like. It's what Azushio is known for after all. Sasam nodded at that. I'll do it. You have your genjutsu and Jugo has his bloodline. It'll give me something unique. You're unique enough without any other special skills or knowledge, but we'll support you in your endeavors. Jugo comments offhandedly as he takes them deeper into the ruins of the base. Focused as he is, he missed the blush that covers Sasam's face as Kin leans over to poke her and grin. There's something up ahead. Can't get a good read on it, so keep your guard up. Both girls turn to focus, though Kin voices a question. I'm guessing you've been to this base before then. You've having an easy time getting around. Down long and dim hallways, over cracked and broken floors and past humid and dark doorways, Jugo was completely confident about where he was going. Jugo nods once, yes. When Orochimaru first found me, I was placed here. Until my bloodline was found to be useful to him and I was moved. I met Kimimaro here, and we promised to carry on one another's dreams if one of us died. Thinking about it for a moment as he leads them into a wide-open laboratory, the floor space dominated by mostly empty medical tubes much like Karen's own back in a zoo. To think, I would be the one to outlive Kimimaro. Guess I'll have to be the one to live a full and happy life now. Coming up next to him, Kin lays a gentle hand on his arm. Do you resent Azu for killing Kimimaro? No. Eyes latching onto a tube that was still completely full of water, Jugo walks towards it and the strange feeling he was getting, we both knew the risks of working with Orochimaru. I wish things could have been different, but life has never been kind to us. With some luck and hard work, maybe it could be possible to revive his clan at the least. If I can convince Lord Naruto to do so. Kin shakes her head slowly. You know Lord Naruto won't agree to experimentation like that. I agree, which means there would have to be volunteers. Jugo smiles at her before turning back to the test tube, close enough now to lay a hand on the glass. How odd. Sasam taps the glass on his other side, frowning as she peered into its depths. You sure you feel something alive in here? Looks like boring old water to me. My senses are picking up on living chakra. Someone is here. Kin grins, pulling free a brass hand bell from her pouch. Well, if someone is here, I can always rattle em around a bit. Ringing the bell once but not adding chakra to it, she pointedly eyes the test tube. Inside the tube the water churns and swirls before forming into a person, much to Riptide's surprise. Pale and naked, Sugetsu grins and waves his hands in surrender. No need to rattle me around, I'm here. Seeing and recognizing Jugo, Sugetsu salutes him. Welcome to the slaughterhouse. Hope you enjoy your stay. The last he had heard of Jugo, the perpetually crazy man was liable to rip your head off with no warning at all. He didn't want to piss someone like that off today. Not after surviving a Kumo raid. Seeing that Sugetsu is nervous, hopefully meaning he would easily talk, Jugo stands a little straighter. What happened here? Well. Gulping and deciding he did not want to die, Sugetsu started to talk. Well, it looks like someone has been running around smashing sound bases and Kumo decided to raid this one. Not like there was much here to take, just a few researchers and a dozen prisoners. Nothing exciting beyond me. Thinking it over and not having any orders considering a situation like this, Jugo turns to Kin and Sasam. With the base empty our mission is null. Kin nods. We could take him at least, have something to show for coming all this way. Sasam shakes her head. You know we don't take anyone against their will. At least not unless they try to kill us first. Kin turns bored eyes to the naked boy. What do ya say? Wanna try and kill us? Nope. I'm good, no thanks. Sugetsu was not going to get into a fight with Jugo of all people. At least, not without a weapon. But Sugetsu considered further that he was most likely very outclassed at the moment. Both of these girls were completely comfortable with Jugo, which meant one of two things. They were expendable and knew it, or they were powerful enough to keep Jugo in check. Which mean they would be strong enough to put him down as well. Nope, he'd be playing it safe for now. Jugo motions for the girls to step back. At the least we'll free you and be on our way. He'd do what was necessary and then return to Azu with Lord Naruto's assistance. Maybe they could rest and go take on a bounty mission next. Surprised and curious, Sugetsu steps away from the glass. You're gonna free me. Just like that. Orochimaru sure has softened up. Chuckling, empowering an arm with chakra, enlarging and increasing its power, Jugo shook his head. I serve a new master now. Lord Naruto, who is also now allied with Kirigakure if you are interested in returning to your old home. With a shout and a thrust, the glass shatters and Jugo returns his arm to normal. Sugetsu is free to walk out into the lab while whistling, catching a tunic that Sasam had unsealed and thrown to him. Thanks. Dressing himself, Sugetsu thinks about what Jugo said to him. He could return to Kiri, start his mission all over again. The legendary swords wouldn't collect themselves after all. Yeah, if I can get back to Kiri, that'd be great. Jugo pulls free a paper seal and begins to add chakra to it. Don't be alarmed. Sugetsu raises an eyebrow. What's that do? Just making a call. In a flash Naruto is there, frowning at his surroundings and unintentionally raising his chakra as his eyes lock on the pale-haired boy. Sugetsu instantly knows that whoever this is could kill him in a moment and most likely would if the look in his blue and purple eyes was anything to go off of. That wasn't the face of a man, it was like staring at death. Jugo with Sasam and Kin bow to him. However, Lord Naruto, we have news to report. Tired and still worn out as he is, it takes a moment for him to clamp down on his chakra. Turning curious eyes to Jugo, Naruto nods. What's up, Jugo? I expected you to call me outside of the base, not deep within it. Another casual glance washes over Sugetsu, before Naruto turns fully to Jugo. Wanna get me up to speed? Jugo nods. The base has been raided before we made it here. Kumo made off with a few researchers and a dozen prisoners. Sugetsu is the only survivor otherwise. He does wish to return to Kiri. Taking it all in with a nod, Naruto makes a clone before unsealing a version 2. Okay, let's get back to Izu then and have a chat. He was thinking over the fact that there were only a dozen prisoners here, same number as what Orochimaru said he had given to Kumo. Had they just missed saving the Uzumaki? Or just a coincidence? Clone wandering off down a hallway, Naruto grabs Jugo, who in return lets Kin and Sasam grab onto him, and he grabs a confused Sugetsu. Hope you don't get motion sickness. That confused Sugetsu more. What do you? 1 second he was in the dark and dank ruins of the lab, and the next he was dropping to the floor of a well-lit office several stories up. Bookcase on one wall and a collection of exotic weapons on the opposite, Sugetsu decided he was going to hang on to the floor to keep the world from spinning. Naruto was already walking around his desk, heaving himself back into his chair with a sigh. Behind him, Gosu and Isaribi wave to the Riptide team. Welcome back. Jugo nods while Kin bounces in place. Did we miss anything? Isaribi motions to Hinata visible through the open door and then eyeing Naruto. You could say that. I'm sure you'll get filled in later. Naruto watches as Sugetsu gets to his feet, nervous but standing tall all the same. So, you want to return to Kiri, right? Yeah, that's right. Sugetsu is hit with the realization that this man wasn't just insanely strong, but a cage to boot. Nope. He wanted to be as far away from this guy as possible. Eyes turning hard for a moment, Naruto had to consider that he couldn't really stop the guy from going. For all he knew, Sugetsu was a member of some proud or prestigious clan in Kiri. I don't know how long you were locked away with Orochimaru, but Kiri is in the middle of changing towards a less bloody future. So I'll ask, are you more aligned with the Kiri of old, or the new? Maybe Sugetsu would make things simple for him. Scratching at his head, Sugetsu shrugged. Kiri is Kiri. As long as I can return, my loyalty won't be doubted. Maybe he could reunite with whatever of his clan was left. Get some updates before continuing on with his quest. That was what mattered to him. Decision made, Naruto figured that without a good reason he didn't have a justification for keeping Sugetsu here. Plus, it would be one less headache for him. Well, it's not my place to keep you from getting home. He turned to regard Jugo. Can you escort him to Wave and help him charter a boat? Sure thing. Jugo is already backing away, ready to leave at a moment's notice. Sugetsu bows low to the cage. Thanks a bunch. For the save and for sending me home. Naruto waves him off, pushing an empty beaker towards the edge of his desk while returning to paperwork. No sweat. Good luck, and when you get to Kiri tell me I said hello if ya can. Confused but nodding, wondering how he was going to track down this May person, Sugetsu turns to walk out. Sure thing. Leaving with the Izu team, the loner ninja mentally makes plans for what to do once he gets back to Kiri. Office quiet once more now that the others had left. Naruto sucks his teeth a bit, and here I thought I might get some excitement. Isaribi shook her head. Be careful, Uzumaki-sama. Lady Hinata might hear you. Said girl was walking into his office with a new stack of paperwork and a smirk on her face. I did, by the way. Papers dropping onto his desk, the pale-eyed girl looks to the empty drink. Oh, you need a refill. In the corner, the group of 3 clones groaned out that they had just finished a stack of work. They were properly ignored. Naruto shakes his head though he moves the new stack to his inbox. I think I'm good for now. Eyes going hard for a moment, Hinata unseals a new beaker and places it on his desk, taking and sealing the empty. Nonsense. Drink up. You need it. Turning to walk to the group of clones, picking up completed and sorted folders and files, Hinata again turns to walk back out of the door. And we will be having a longer conversation tonight, husband. Saying nothing else, Hinata leaves, Naruto glumly staring at the green liquid. He was sure it was mocking him somehow. Isarabi takes some pity on Naruto, leaning over with a smile. I'm sure things will be fine, my lord. Why? She put this stack of paperwork down a bit gentler than last time. She idly noted one of the clones coming over and taking half of the new stack before returning to their desk under the weapon wall. Naruto shook his head, moving to get back to work. It's all right. I deserve it. They do mean well, and they deserve to be upset with me. He'd have to figure something out to make it up to all of them. He wouldn't be completely passive through all of this. B. On the road and making her way to her next destination while the sun sets, Yugito decides that she has had enough for today. Getting off of the road and making her way into a tree with good leaf cover, she settles in for the night. I've got 2, maybe 3 days before I make it to Wave. Matatabi nods. Think you're ready for this? No. Conflicted about this mission, Yugito wondered over what B had said to her. He had been very clear that the Uzumaki would not be taken by force, and she believed him. Uzumaki were well known for being stubborn, willing to fight indefinitely, till death if needed. She had heard stories from some of the ninja tasked with breeder maintenance about what could happen to an Uzumaki who came off the pacification drugs. Shuddering at the idea of someone biting their own tongue not even seconds after regaining their full consciousness was terrifying. If nothing else, the willpower of an Uzumaki deserved respect. And to think, the Maelstrom is both a Jinchuriki and an Uzumaki. I think B had the right of it. If the Raikage wants him, he's going to have to beat him into submission. And you know he's willing to do so. There's only one Uzumaki male left in Kumo, and that one is getting old. The Matatabi had her own opinions of humanity and their need to subjugate each other in whatever manner they could. But that was well outside of her ability to do anything about. At the least, she could protect her container. Wishing she could be on her way to doing any mission other than this one, Yugito takes out a length of rope and ties herself to the tree, making sure she won't fall in the middle of the night. Things will work out, hopefully. With some luck the Maelstrom will catch on and capture her right away. Though she didn't hold out hope for how she would be treated. Yes, Kumo treated its ninja better than most, but they were still tools. To be used and expended at will, and Kumo Jinchuriki were at the bottom of that totem pole. And she knew what that entailed all too well. Daimyo, high-ranking nobles, merchants. She had been popular for some time. Jinchuriki women were in high demand for a lot of reasons. Thankfully the Matatabi was good about making sure she couldn't get pregnant against her will. She herself never wanted to bring a child into this world as long as things stayed the way they were. A prudent decision, I believe. Unless you're finally ready to defect from your village, which to the ancient chakra being, would be the better decision. Why stay loyal to a village that was willing to throw you away when necessary? Can't say that I am, at least not now. But what if the Raikage ever ordered her to bear a child? She'd probably finally follow through with her own secret plan and kill herself. Maybe. If she could free her Biju first, then she'd be all for it. Internally, Matatabi sighs loudly. You don't need to kill yourself. God, I'm taking control and getting you laid when we find the QB container again. You need something positive. And you are supposed to be staying out of my mind, cat. Not truly upset, Yugito did have to remind herself that her Biju was just looking out for her. Blushing at the mental image that popped into her mind when the other blonde was mentioned, she shook her head quickly. We have a mission to complete. More like a suicide to get on with if B's measure of the boy is accurate. Consider all your options, kitten. Talking is of course one of them. Fading back into the depths of her mind, Yugito was left alone. She really did consider getting captured being the best outcome for everyone involved. She certainly didn't want to die, nor did she want to spark a conflict between villages. Though that may happen regardless. Adjusting herself and folding her arms around her middle, Yugito began to drift off to sleep as the night moved on. Tonight, the same lonely dream. A life far away from ninja, something peaceful with wide open fields and a quiet home. Maybe 2 children or just 1. No more loss, and no one wanting to use or abuse her. Yes, a good life, a simple life. B. Night had fully descended on Azushio and Naruto was lowering himself into the bath. Alone for the moment and unbothered about it, he considered his options for tomorrow. He planned on giving the okay for Conan to come and visit his office so they could talk, but beyond that he was stuck behind his desk for another 2 days at the least. Not that he was raring to go anywhere just yet. He still needed to brainstorm and figure out just what he was going to do with Kumo. Well, I'm team razing that village to the ground. Of course you are. Naruto couldn't fault him about it though, it would be the easiest thing to do. Fly overhead and spam clones to find and rescue the Uzumaki, and then blow the village away with a version 2. Short, sweet, simple. Of course, that ignored any innocence that might be involved, or the political fallout from such a move. Taking a deep steadying breath before exhaling slowly, Naruto lowered himself a bit more into the water. This sucks. From the doorway, it was a quiet pair that were the first to join him. Tayuya and Ino were quick to ease themselves into the pool-sized bath and make their way towards him, concerned looks on their faces. Ino at least flashed him a smile. Good to be out of that office. Like you wouldn't believe. Not moving as Ino and Tayuya settle on either side of him, he is only a little surprised by Tayuya clinging to his arm tightly. Hey. Tayuya shakes her head. I'm going to ask some things, and I need you to be honest, okay? Looking up to him, she watches as he nods slowly with his eyes locked on hers. What were you thinking, when you decided to continue fighting Orochimaru once you were injured so badly? We all know you're strong, unimaginably so. But, you don't use the Hiraishin in combat, you didn't even consider retreating even a little bit, and you keep forcing your eye to evolve further and further. Would you, looking away from him finally, staring down into her reflection with a frown on her face though she refused to let him go, would you have been fine with that? Dying and leaving us alone so long as you killed him? Waiting for a moment to be sure that she was done talking, Naruto sighed and looked up into the ceiling. No, I wasn't thinking. I wouldn't have wanted to leave you all behind, I need you to know and understand that. I wanted him dead in a way I never wanted to kill anyone else before. Things had always worked out for us up till now, that I just didn't even consider that I couldn't win. And once I knew I had a technique that could heal me, I let that go to my head and did something reckless. Looking down and staring first at Ino and then at Tayuya, Naruto nodded firmly. I'll be better from here on. Survival first, mission second. Tayuya squeezed his arm. I love you, Naruto. But I need you to understand, if you take a needless risk like that again, I'll leave. It was quiet between the three of them, only the water sloshing against the rim of the pool providing noise. I never thought that I could find happiness like this in my life. I was sure that I was going to end up like every other Uzumaki woman I had heard about. But, you changed that, gave me a better life. We built a better life together. But, if you could throw that away, no. I can't stay and watch you do that. Turning watery eyes towards him, he pokes him hard in the chest. I can share you with the others because we all love you. But I won't be second place to some vendetta. You always make sure you come home, you start fighting smart, or so help me then next time I'll use the Shinigami mask to bring you back just to kill you myself. I'm sorry, Tayuya. I promise, on everything that I am. Never again. And he meant it. A hard lesson, but one that he needed to learn. He got lucky with Orochimaru, and he couldn't rely on getting lucky anymore. Tayuya poked him again once more for emphasis before sighing and leaning into him, much more relaxed than before. You better keep your word. And you're giving me massages for the rest of the week to apologize for making me all mushy and emotional. Asshole. Chuckling and nodding again, Naruto slipped an arm around her slim waist and pulled her further into him. But you're always so soft and feminine, Tar-chan. The elbow to his gut screamed in defiance of that. Yeah, noted. Ass. Ino shook her head and leaned into his other side, daintily picking up his arm and laying it over her shoulders. We all feel mostly the same, though with different extremes. So long as you learn and improve, we'll all be happy. Smiling, she sighed and enjoyed the muscled arm around her shoulders. You aren't some random murder hobo skipping across the nations. You have a family, a people to worry about. You can't leave things to chance like that. I understand. Good whiskers. Now, get to making clones. We all need back rubs. Looking up, he finally noticed the rest of the girls were here, still minus Kyuki and Kotohime. Hinata, Karen and Honoka were smiling softly as they all lowered themselves into the waters, each watching him calmly. Making clones, Naruto bowed his head to them all. I'll be better, that's a promise. Hinata is the first to nod and float over to the real him, kissing him lightly on the lips before floating away to be picked up out of the water by a clone. We know. Don't think this gets you out of a few days in the doghouse though. Pouting, Naruto watched his clones start to work the girls over. Can I at least have normal food? Karen giggles before a moan escapes her lips. No can do. That stuff really is the healthiest thing you can have right now, that'll help you fully recover. Coupled with Kurama's healing and you'll be in tip-top shape in record time. Tastes like you took every vegetable known to man and blended them all together. Getting a giggle from both Karen and Honoka but no response, he had a feeling he was pretty close with his guess. Arg, fine. I'll be good. Ino leaned further into him. Oh you big baby. If you're a good boy, I'll do something special for you at the end. Leaning into his ear, Ino smirked as he twitched at her breath tickling him. You know, that thing I do with my tongue first thing in the morning. Rolling her eyes from her position on a towel, Hinata couldn't help it. You just can't help it, can you, skank? It's for Naruto, so no. Always happy to snipe back and forth with her friends, Ino was still Ino after all. Naruto counted himself lucky. This could have gone a lot worse, and he was grateful that it didn't. Guess that was just the power of the Azushio baths. Tomorrow would be a new day, but at least he was able to clear the air with his wives. Many were still getting used to the newest addition to the city skyline of Azushio. The large airship jutting out from the Uzumaki Tower made for an impressive conversation starter, but it was a bit of an eyesore to the locals for now. However, to tourists, it was fairly impressive to see such a ship docked there so peacefully in the sky. Having gotten the go-ahead to come and visit, Conan and Deidara were two such visitors to Azushio. Being escorted by an outwardly chipper Ino, they step onto a waiting trolley while looking out towards the city. Almost right away Ino can tell that Deidara is the one to keep occupied, Conan very much the quiet type who has been putting up with the louder and more animated man. That was fine with her, gave her opportunities to build a psych profile after all. So, Deidara right, you're originally from Iwa. Nodding enthusiastically, Deidara focuses completely on Ino. Yes. From their blast core. But, they didn't appreciate my art, so I took my show on the road, so to speak. Here he spread his arms out a bit with a wide smile that showed a lot of teeth. Leader lets me show off my art to the masses, and I couldn't appreciate that more. Though of course, my art pales in comparison to your leader's. Truly he is a visionary and an once-in-a-generation genius. His work outside of Tanzaku. Truly just, mua, chef's kiss perfection. Physically kissing his fingers, Deidara was very proud of himself at the moment. I'm sure he would love to hear you appreciate his work. Eyebrows raising a bit, she was beginning to worry that this guy might have more than a few screws loose. Maybe it was a trait of explosion uses. Appreciate. No. His work is awe-inspiring. Breathtaking. Chilling. There aren't enough words to describe how his work makes me feel. But I've never been more inspired. Truly, even just a moment with him and I feel like I could improve just that much more. Reach new heights I've never even thought to reach. I won't go so far to say that I worship him, no, I'm not that idiot hidden. But it's close. Ino couldn't help but smile and chuckle, knowing that from experience, this guy was acting a lot like a fangirl about to meet their celebrity crush. Just great. Well, you'll be able to meet him for a bit today to relay your message to him. Though of course, the usual warnings apply. It is Conan who chimes in, happy that someone else can entertain the demolition expert who to all who met him seemed a few marbles short of a full bag. We should not be long. I would just like to reconfirm his beliefs and extend an invitation to him to visit our own village. Then we will depart. Deidara tries hard not to pout, and fails. Couldn't we stay a bit longer? You know, so we can swap stories, experiences. Notes maybe. Conan levels bored eyes at him, really. Seeing him nod, the powerful woman sighs and shakes her head. This is a mission, not a field trip. This is for my art, I shall not let anything stand in my way of that. I'll have to remind Pain of that when we return. Deidara paused as he thought about that. Push for more time for his art, or piss off leader and probably die. Well, I guess, if that's best then. As the two talk, Ino sits back and watches them for a bit, taking in the dynamic. While Deidara boasted explosion skills and amazing feats, Conan was very much the one in control. And further, this leader of theirs now identified as Pain was apparently very powerful. If for no other clues that the willingness for Deodara to back down and give up on his guest to improve his art. A little alarming considering, but Naruto would know what to do with that information later. More so too, remembering her notes and the third member of their team waiting in a hotel room back in Wave. Because who would have ever thought that Itachi would not only give his real name, but so easily as well. Granted, almost no one had believed it when he did, so there was that. It did however link these two to Akatsuki as well, and that had put everyone in Riptide on high alert. Were they here to capture Naruto then, or were they really just here to talk? This group had apparently been running around hunting Biju for a long while, only to suddenly stop. Ino and the others had voiced the concerns to Naruto only for him to wave them away with a grin. He assured them all that Conan wanted to talk and that was it. In his mind, why come all the way to his village so publicly just to start a fight? Especially in a village known once upon a time for its mastery of seals. Fighting on his home turf was suicide. No, Azu had nothing to fear today. That said, all of the members of Riptide were on high alert, keeping the distance but watching the two from afar. Karen and Honoka were down in their computer room and lab, monitoring things with the city golem more personally. Naruto may be confident and back to full health, but the girls needed to reassure themselves as well. As far as the rest of the General Azushio ninja knew, a pair of powerful ninja were visiting and to be on their best behavior. Ino and the rest knew that the Azu ninja were a very protective bunch, and didn't need to be riled up with the knowledge that Akatsuki were in town. Looking up as they entered the city center and the tower loomed above them, Ino hopped off and waited for the pair to do the same. Conan was the first to speak up again. Certainly there have been rapid advancements here. Lots of samurai and an airship. Does Naruto truly seek peace? This seems more like a ninja state building up its military assets in preparation to continue the same wars that many others have and do. It would be disappointing but predictable if that was the case. Like she and Pain had learned, power corrupted even the best of them. By the feel of the people around them, Naruto had a lot of power here. Ino took in the area around them, the main tower plaza a little empty due to the early morning hour. Though the city streets were busy and shops were already open, she had to remember that to an outsider it would look more military than it actually was. Maybe she'd recommend to Karen to toning down the samurai golem in the future. I can't say Azushio doesn't project an image of a normal military state. Rest assured though, in terms of operation and our mandate, that's the furthest from the truth. Pausing as she reached the first destination where she really wanted to gauge their reactions, she stands before the memorial monument. Best I can say, we do not want a repeat of the original Azushio-gaku. This month saw a mix of orange and red flowers of various species populating the space around the monument. Several people walked by, giving the group looks while Ino nods to many of them who greet her quietly. Both Akatsuki members stand before the memorial and read its inscription there. Conan is quick to bow her head, clapping her hands and offering a silent prayer to those slain. While not a heavily religious person, she still believed and hoped that those who died were allowed to pass on peacefully. As she took in how well cared for the memorial was, she considered that maybe she could do something like this in Rain. Well, if the people cared enough for it. What surprised her however was Deodara. Next to her the usually spastic and loud man had dropped to his knees, bowing his head to the ground and offering his own quiet prayer before sitting up straight and rifling through his clothes. What are you doing, Deodara? Conan's voice was quiet, but questioning. He was beginning to attract a bit of a crowd after all. Curious onlookers weren't saying anything and no one was stopping him, as he finally unseals and removes a roughly 20 centimeters wide piece of thick glass. Deodara smiles as he looks down into the surface of the dirty material. Refusing to clean it from where he had taken it from the crater just outside of Konoha, now deemed Glass Lake, there was half of a seal burned into its surface. He considered that he should explain himself a bit however as he finally stood slowly, my art. It's all about love and expression of the perfect moment. I consider the explosion to be just that, the ultimate expression of beauty in a moment. And I can tell, Lord Naruto believes the same. But, and here his voice quiets down, almost reverent as he nestles the jagged and cracked glass against the monument and among the flowers, reflecting light and catching attention. His art also shows that there is beauty that can last, in freezing a moment in time, of leaving a lasting impact on the world around you. A loud statement that shouts, "I was here." Voice raised for only a moment, Deodara stands back and looks up to the tip of the memorial. The maelstrom showed me that explosions can be both a fleeting moment and leave a lasting memory. A testament to their creator. So I give this back, one everlasting piece of the maelstrom's first major artwork, come back home to show that he and Azushio are here to stay. Behind him, Conan's eyebrows go from raised to softening, a gentle smile on her face. Perhaps I have misjudged you, Deodara. Next to her, Ino nodded with much of the same sentiment but did not voice it, seeing a quiet pair coming to join them. From next to Conan and apparently unnoticed, Naruto hums and internally chuckles at the light jump from the older woman. That's a well thought out offering. I'm sure many of our citizens will appreciate it. Holding out a hand to Deodara, Naruto was all grins while Hinata stood quietly off to the side. Thank you. Having this piece of my past returned is pretty touching. It reminded him that while he had nearly killed Gaara during the invasion of Konoha, he had come out of it with a loyal friend. It had helped solidify early that not everyone was too far gone, that some could be talked back from the edge of the darkness. Deodara reached forward and took it, firmly shaking Naruto's hand with a grin. As one artist to another, the honor is all mine. Looking towards Conan while Deodara pumped his arm furiously, Naruto sent her a questioning look. She smiled and shook her head. He's my guard for this time around. Nodding and eventually getting his hand back, Naruto turns and motions down the road. Follow me, let's go on a little tour and we can talk. Conan fell into step next to him while Hinata walked just slightly behind them with Ino and Deodara, who again seemed to want to wax poetic about the meeting. Not far away and shadowing him is a relaxed En, keeping a respectable distance. Looking back, Naruto turns a grin towards Ino. Would you mind going and checking in on Karen and Honoka? Here he winks and hooks a thumb towards En. I think I have enough guards for today and I'm sure they could use the company. Not even hesitating, Ino bows to Deodara and Conan. It's been fun meeting you. I hope we can continue to be on friendly terms. Waving as she turned, she jogged back towards the tower while En took her place. Conan raises an eyebrow as they continue along on the right side of the street on the sidewalk, everyone easily giving him a wide berth upon seeing Naruto. You seem to command a lot of respect from your people. Naruto nods, waving to a shop owner who tries to entice him with an early morning bowl of ramen. It's easy, I think, when everyone knows you'll fight tooth and nail for them. Naruto watched a large golem lumberby shaped like a giant lizard and carrying about a dozen children on its back. At one point or another, I've helped or saved a good portion of people in this village. I have their trust, not because I have power, but because I've put my money where my mouth is, so to speak. Naruto grins and looks directly at her now. I want to build a peaceful world, or at least, as peaceful as it is ever going to be. Naruto did not fool himself on this. He couldn't change a lot of things, but human nature was not on that list. Thinking his words over, Conan does internally smile as the young man she had met before does not seem to have changed very much. Still the optimist with a loyalty streak a mile wide. My leader says he is willing to meet with you, but, due to limitations on his body, it would be easier for you to come and meet him instead. Push came to shove, she could summon Nagato's main body here, but that could cause its own issues. Right now she knew him enough to know if there was a chance for talks to go well, he at least needed to be on comfortable ground. Hopefully Naruto didn't take offense to this. Which he didn't. Karen having updated him before he came down to meet with Conan, must be hard. I'm sure Akatsuki members are having a more difficult time moving around freely these days. Surprise clear on her face, Conan schools her features and mentally berates herself. Of course he knew by now who she was. Coming here with Itachi of all people practically screamed it for one. Still, she felt compelled to ask, so you know. And allowed us entry anyway. Chuckling and nodding as the area around them becomes less business-oriented and more entertainment district, Naruto just smirks at her. Itachi was more than enough proof. But your wording was a clue too. You keep calling him leader, but never Kage. So it wasn't a village head, but with as powerful as you are, it had to be quite the organization. So, I made a guess and Itachi showing up solidified it. Here Naruto shrugged and folded his arms behind his back. So long as he remains peaceful in wave there will be no problems. Though Sasuke might be pissed off with him later when he found out about it. He'd still tell him regardless. he had made a promise, which was also why he wasn't flying off to kill Itachi right away. That was Sasuke's vengeance, not his. Konan can only shake her head. In his own way, twisted though it may be, Itachi does love his little brother. Of everything we can negotiate and talk about, Itachi's fate isn't one of them. That's between those two brothers. If Sasuke still wants to kill him, I'm sworn to help with that. Naruto stares ahead, continuing to smile for the benefit of people around them. Didn't want to give the impression this little tour wasn't going well after all. Konan can understand where he was coming from. You'll not have to worry about retaliation if you end up killing a member or two depending on who they are. We're more of a loose collection of strong individuals. Most are here because leader pays them, while some are more personal reasons. Not everyone believes in Pain's end goal, and that's okay. Nodding and saying nothing for a moment, Naruto continues to lead the way and offers waves to several curious citizens. Now firmly in the loud and boisterous district, Naruto motioned to brightly colored signs and busy-looking venues. Even early morning and people were finding time to relax and find ways to distress. Welcome to the party district. We may still be a military, but Uzushio's capital is meant to be more focused on the civilians. So it is here that an entire district is dedicated to entertainment and fun, whichever flavor that may be. From family stuff to the usual, more seedy. Very cavalier about that. Are you not worried about your people's reputation? Shaking his head, Naruto waved at a burly bouncer trying to wave him and his group inside a quiet-looking bar. In one way or another everyone gambles or drinks or smokes. At least we can give them a safe place to do so. You truly love your people. Konan can see it in all of the faces that return greetings or offer shouts to the young man. Admittedly, a lot of the freedoms you allow your people seem reminiscent to Konoha. Finally shrugging while trying not to dwell on thinking about that place, Naruto keeps going. I am originally from that place, so I wanted to use as many good qualities while trying to avoid the bad. It's not perfect, but we keep striving to improve. Case in point, not far in front of them double doors burst open and two men go flying out into the street, exchanging fists while grunting and yelling at each other. Behind them and holding one of the doors open, a waitress in a fairly short blue yukata was yelling at them both. Don't you come back, either of you. You cause too much trouble. Wait, Keiko my sweet. Let me explain. Explain this fist shitball. Screw you asshole. That's my girl you were getting handsy with. Naruto and co-watch as half a dozen samurai jog into the street, quickly pulling the men apart and slapping cuffs on their wrists. Not ninja at least, Naruto was relieved about that. Pre-programmed as they were for certain conditions, the samurai were quick to finish restraining both men and carry them away. Yeah, not perfect, but working on it. Konan offers him a bemused grin. If those are your biggest issues, count yourself lucky. I do. Naruto continued the trek, the main road curving with its designed spiral. Always my biggest worry is corruption. Power corrupts, and I want to prevent that as much as possible. Power is the most dangerous drug. I'd like to build up as many allies as I can and then we'll experiment with different ways to run our nations. I'd like to build a system where we talk about our issues first. Force should never be necessary between friends. And those who aren't your friends. If they can at least stick to not being violent, I can do the same. But if they want to get violent, well, I have something for that. Konan nods. I think Pain would like to talk with you. I can't promise that he'll join your growing alliance, but well, she pauses as she considers her longest and oldest friend. Maybe I'm hoping for a bit of a miracle. Naruto nods, pulling free a temporary Hiraishin tag and handing it to her. When you return, add some chakra to that and I'll appear, or one of my clones will. We can figure things out from there. I'm usually good for one miracle. Watching Konan accept the tag with a slight bow, Naruto continued, just a heads up, attempting to copy that doesn't end well. It's a one and done sort of thing. Konan sighs internally, as she had been thinking about copying the seal with her unique paper-based abilities. She didn't want to think about what nasty traps an Uzumaki seal might have on it, however. I'll make sure Leader is the only one to have this seal. Oh, also, it can only be used outside, keep that in mind. Behind them, Deidara tries to bring Hinata into conversation. Truly, Lord Naruto is a visionary and a true artist. It's no surprise that has carried over into truly inspirational leadership qualities as well. Hinata smirks. He is truly a one-of-a-kind man. No one could hope to replace him in our hearts here in Azushio. We would march on the gates of hell if he so asked. Both watch each other quietly for a few moments, gauging each other while En watched on before Deidara bows to her. Only a truly remarkable woman can see a visionary for who he is. I can only assume that you are an artist as well. Shaking her head but smiling, Hinata returns the bow. You are an interesting individual. You must have incredible skill to be able to see Naruto's greatness from only seeing his explosions. Though I must admit, I do not boast the same proficiency that he does. Deidara nods. Fret not. Maybe I can help inspire you and help with your art as Lord Naruto has done for me. I hope that one day I have the chance to spar and exchange ideas with him if time ever allows. This young woman had a good eye and deserved respect for it. Looking back, Naruto can't help but grin. We can make that happen today as I have plenty of free time. He only grins wider as En and Hinata both sigh heavily. He adjusts their course regardless and they begin making their way to his training ground, because every day needed an explosion or two. With the main conversation out of the way, there was nothing else holding them back after all. Far away, nestled deep within its forest, Konoha continued on with its own daily routine. Safely behind her desk, or as safe as she could be in a world where Naruto knew the Hiraishin, Tsunade handed over mission details to Team 7 while Jiraiya stood off to the side. Tsunade rests her hands on her desk while watching the group as calmly as she could. In light of more political shake-up between Azushio and Konoha, we're trying to keep away from their area of influence for a short while. We're already on thin ice with the spring daimyo, what with Sai trying to bomb the newest and largest capital city. Tsunade sighs and relaxes back in her chair. You'll be going very far south, to the island of the Crescent Moon Kingdom on a protection and escort mission. I'll just say that this mission is extremely important for our reputation right now. Iwa and Kumo both have been sniffing around as well and we have to continue to show that we can and will continue to be as strong as ever. Not that they could do much anymore. While Iwa had lost the Jinchuriki a long time ago, Kumo still boasted 2 of theirs. Konoha was obviously out of their own, even if they were still allies. But Kumo didn't know that, and with recent pokes at their borders, Kumo seemed willing to test them. Kakashi folds the mission scroll away and puts it in a pocket in his Jonin vest. Rest assured, Lady Hokage, we will complete this mission no problem and return quickly. I'm sure Sasuke and Sakura would love to join in on the upcoming Chunin exams and would be more than happy to put on a good showing for Konoha. Sasuke can't help but grin. That could be fun, beating around some wannabes. Sakura shook her head. I don't want to sound cocky, but by this point it'd almost be too easy. Kakashi shook his head and motioned for them to leave. I feel like you both are compensating for Naruto not being here. That's concerning. Sakura shrugged. We've got to keep you on your toes, sensei. Better than meddling in my love life. Oh, we can still do that, we have plenty of time. Sakura was still on a mission to convince Shizune and Tsunade to migrate to Azushio instead. It was slow going, but she could tell she was breaking Tsunade down slowly but surely. Kakashi turned to Sasuke as they made their way through the door. Can't you stop her? You wanna take one of her punches head on? No. Okay then. Leaving Tsunade and Jiraiya alone as the door clicked shut behind them, Jiraiya couldn't help but chuckle as Tsunade sighed heavily. Just what will we be unleashing on the world if we let them take the Chunin exams? Grunting as he sat in one of the chairs facing her desk, Jiraiya waved her concerns away. You want a show of force? Those 2 will get it done. Out of all of the rookies, they're leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else in terms of skill and strength. Tsunade can't help but relax back further, leaning in her chair and watching the ceiling. Every generation improves and climbs higher than the last. To think they would be so strong so quickly. By the time they're Kakashi's age they'll easily be as strong as us. Jiraiya shook his head. Most likely stronger. You know how motivated they are to catch up with Naruto. The old man pauses at the calm look on his teammate's face and grins. You've been in a good mood lately. Things must have been going well for you. Yeah. Tsunade nodding absent-mindedly. Danzo hasn't been around much to make my life hell. Apparently he's taken a bit of a sabbatical to attend to issues at home. Didn't even know the old bastard had any family left to worry about. He had only stopped in to check in with the council once, and after that had been rather shut in. Only a few sightings of the man here and there in the village. At least people knew he was alive. Ha, Weird. As far as Jiraiya knew, he didn't. But he wasn't going to say anything about it. Focusing back on the moment, Tsunade sits up and locks her gaze on Jiraiya. So, I've got a job for you. Oh ho, finally giving into this pervert's charms maybe. I'll warn ya, I'll have you up for days if you let me. Waving him off with a blush, Tsunade pulls free another mission scroll. Shut it, you old goat. It's a mission. Seeing the pervert clam up and wait, the cage can't help but smirk. You need to get in touch with Naruto, quickly. Head to Izu and let him know that something has changed recently with Anko's curse seal and it has begun to act oddly. I've had to pull her off missions in the meantime. And because outside of Orochimaru the only people on the planet who have enough knowledge on these curse seals are you and Naruto, you can understand why I'm asking him. Jiraiya understood very well. He could suppress the seals, but Naruto could full remove them. Cheating punk. I'll convince the kid to come then. Well, either that or we can take Anko there. Gotta make it easy for the kid since we're asking him for something. Thinking on that, Tsunade knows that Jiraiya is speaking the truth. While on a personal level they were all still friends and allies, tensions between Konoha and Uzushio were still high. Sending Anko to Uzushio wouldn't be a horrible idea. She was already off missions and she didn't have a team to train. Sure, go ahead and take her to Izu with you then. She might appreciate the break. Hell, take Iruka with you, make it a diplomatic goodwill mission. That particular thought led her to rifling through her desk for a few moments before coming up with another slightly larger scroll and handing it over to Jiraiya. That is another payment that we owe to Uzushio. Don't touch it. We're making this an official goodwill mission in full. I'll file it accordingly. Goodwill, huh? Jiraiya can't help but chuckle, in where we ask Naruto to spend some time helping us out. Tsunade waves his concern away. Naruto likes weird problems like this and he'll have fun teasing the hell out of Anko and Iruka. Jiraiya does have to nod at that last point. Naruto would enjoy teasing his old teacher immensely. Alright, I'll get a move on then. I'll be back as fast as I can. Don't wanna leave you alone too long. Chuckling as a pencil flew by his head, Jiraiya was out a window and bounding away across the village. Left alone completely now, Tsunade can't help but consider this some good luck. Sure, most of her highly skilled teams were out on missions right now, including most of the rookies, but everyone was giving Konoha space for the moment. While she knew better than to make a bet over it, even with herself, she did want to give thanks. Things were quiet, nor did she have to worry about some shadowy terrorist organization coming after them anymore. That was fully Naruto's problem now. She knew he could handle himself at least, the explosion junkie. Down the road and away from the Hokage Tower, Team 7 walks along as they consider their mission. The land of the moon was a long ways away from Konoha, just the ship journey would be at least a week, maybe a little less. Focused as they are, they miss the blonde-haired girl sneaking in among them to wrap an arm around Sasuke's waist. Causing the boy to shudder and Sakura to squawk, they take in the blue capri pants, stretched tight orange t-shirt and a black short jacket before they meet the whisked face of their old teammate, even if he is currently a she. Sasuke couldn't help but twitch, twin orbs of soft flesh pressed into his side. What are you doing, Naruto? This had to be the real one, none of the clones could pull off the transformation this well. Don't you have a city to run? He didn't want to think about the fact that it was so easy for Naruto to sneak up on them. Granted, he knew them really well, so it did make some sense. It was still a little freaky. Naruto, however, just grins and hugs him tighter. Hush, call me Naruto when I'm like this. And I missed you guys, so I wanted to see you. Mismatched blue and purple eyes bright as always, the pseudo girl winks at him. Or don't tell me I got you all flustered, Sasuke. Shoving his best friend away, Sasuke shook his head. Sakura was right, you're somehow even more insufferable than ever. I'll tell Hinata and Ino to bully you the next time I see them. Puffing out her cheeks, Naruto pouts, you're so mean. She however does accept a hug from a happy Sakura. See, this is how it's supposed to be. We miss each other, hug it out, swap stories. Sakura can't help but jab her friend in the shoulder. Why are you a girl right now anyway? Call in infiltration practice. Snagging an apple from an unsuspecting vendor, the pigtailed girl grins and takes a huge bite. I'm usually so in your face, I don't get to practice much. Sasuke shook his head. Kinda not fair when you can literally transform into whoever or whatever you want. Naruto winks at him, a teasing tone in her voice. Want me to turn into a slightly older Sakura? Bet that could be fun. Sakura scoffed and crossed her arms. Should I be worried that your practice is hitting on my boyfriend? I'm telling the Foxton girls. Naruto leaned forward to look at Sakura from Sasuke's other side. I can always change into an older Sasuke. That got the girl quiet in a moment, the blush building on her face telling them all more than enough. See, my way is more fun. I'm not a pervert. Sasuke sighed. No one called you a pervert, Sakura. Kakashi, however, can't help but watch the three quietly. While it was nice for Naruto to be here as if no time had passed and for the moment Kakashi could pretend like his team had never been broken up. Something was very wrong about this. Something at the corner of his mind was tingling. He just couldn't remember what. Naruto, why are you here really? Shrugging, Naruto couldn't help the shark-like grin that stretched across her face as she finished off her stolen apple. Oh, just someone needed an attitude adjustment was all. Then I had some free time and wanted to come see you three. Her eyes turned back to Sasuke. You should actually come help me, ya no. I think it'll be really good for ya. Handing him a scroll from an inner pocket on her jacket, she points at it calmly. Don't open that until you're outside and on your way with your mission. It's important that you remember that, okay? Sasuke nods, putting the scroll away. Sure thing. You'll have to tell me all about it when I get back. Getting between Sakura and Sasuke, Naruto can't help but widen her grin some more. Oh, don't you worry, I'll fill you both as much as you like when you get back. Here she wiggles her eyes at both of them. Why, I'll come crash at your place, we can stay up all night, get to know each other all over again. What do ya say? Once more thrown a little off, Sakura sputters while Sasuke just sighs and can't help but feel like Naruto has gone even further off the deep end. I think the explosions have finally rattled your brain a bit too much. Kakashi, however, is frowning behind his mask, something finally starting to bug him a bit too much. Naruto, what is going on? Letting go of the pair, fingers trailing along their necks and making them both shiver, Naruto gets ready to blend back into the crowd. Nothing to be worried about. I mean well enough. Ya no, maybe you should consider taking some time off in a zoo soon. I hear it's amazing this time of year. Sakura catches the tone in Kakashi's voice, which prompts her to realize with a start that all of this was a bit too outlandish even for Naruto. Hey, Naruto. Question for ya. What's up, Sakura? I gotta get back to what I was doing soon. What's your favorite ramen type? What kind of question is that? Naruto does look genuinely confused before grinning. Naruto loves all the ramen. From there she fades away between vendor stalls, and then she's gone. Leaving the rest of Team 7 standing there in the middle of the road. Forced to continue walking, their mood is instantly different. Sasuke is the first to speak up. I thought it was a little weird for Naruto to be so touchy-feely. But who could that have really been? Why had they decided to talk in the third person when answering them? It wasn't right. Sakura, however, shook her head. I think it was a clone. The chakra signature was way too close to Naruto's to be anything else. But that was, I don't know. Personally, she was even more freaked out about how easily the blonde bombshell blended in with the crowd. His clones are as weird as ever though. Kakashi is the one to voice his own more jarring opinion out loud. It was a clone for sure. But it was much too independent. It was the eyes that threw me off. Seeing his students look at him and wait, he points to his own covered eye. There were no ripples there. While last we saw him he had at least two. This might be a clone he made a long time ago and left here to complete some job. That logic was sound and made sense to Sakura. Good thing we didn't dispel it on accident then. Sasuke frowned at that. Didn't you slug it in the shoulder? Stumbling as yes indeed she did. That was more interesting now. Yeah, and since when do clones eat? Kakashi was frowning some more. They don't. The only way they would get answers would be to ask Naruto himself or track down the clone, but they didn't have time for that. For now we work under the assumption that Naruto made a more robust clone and left it to do something for him. We check the scroll once we're a day away from Konoha. Sound good? Sasuke nods. Yeah. No. Something else was bothering him now. More a feeling than anything else that he could put into words. Which also meant he'd agonize over it for days until he figured it out. Already putting the interaction out of her mind and worrying on the more direct issue, Sakura pointed at the pocket holding the scroll at Sasuke's waist, knowing Naruto. What are the chances it's something crazy that might blow up, hence why he wants us to open it away from the village. Shaking his head immediately, Sasuke smirks, it's Naruto. Nutter he may be, but he wouldn't hurt us. Sakura can't help but agree with him on that, you're right. Naruto wouldn't hurt us. Kakashi however now has a different worry. Because yes, Naruto wouldn't hurt them. But he was still on the fence about that being Naruto at all. Because under the feel of Naruto's normal chakra and demeanor was something else. He couldn't describe how it felt, but it wasn't fully Naruto, nor was it the QB. Waves crashing against a rocky beach, sun high overhead, Naruto is bouncing from foot to foot as he and Deidara face off. Deidara openly molds clay in his hands, smirking while Conan accompanied by Hinata and En watch on with exasperated looks on the women's faces. Naruto is beyond fascinated by his technique, coming next to him and watching closely. How the hell does that work? Is this a bloodline? I'm guessing they work your chakra into the clay to infuse it with explosives then. Mind racing, he completely didn't even think to ask about more normal things involving mouths in hands. Though that might come up later as his mind worked through his curiosity. Deidara nods as his right hand works a small amount of clay over and his left now holds a tiny clay bird. That's right. I have explosion release, so with these I can inject my chakra into the clay in order to mold it into explosives or other things I need. From his right now sits a small clay spider. With a jerk of his arms, the clay bird flies off into the air to explode while the spider scuttles along the ground before it too explodes and adds a crater to the training area. One of my favorite things is this though. Dumping both hands into pouches at his waist, it takes a minute but with some work and more than a few gross sounds from his hands, clay is expelled and molded into a giant clay bird that Deidara sends off into the air to fly in a circle above them. I have a few other forms that I've found useful and deadly, but that's a little much for today. These are just the basics behind my techniques. Naruto nods quickly, watching the bird flying overhead while thinking on it. So there were more materials out there that could accept chakra being injected into them, and some used them like this, huh? Naruto shouldn't be surprised really. But it was cool all the same. He wanted to push to see just how big Deidara could do, but that might be a bad idea. Watching Deidara eventually jump and begin to ride on the wind with his clay bird, Naruto gives him a thumbs up. That's pretty cool. Deidara can't help but preen a little bit. What about you? I know you use seals, but I've always been curious about how it works. Naruto nods, flaring his jacket open and unsealing several scrolls of varying sizes. From less than a foot tall to the largest that was just shy of 4 feet long and a foot thick. So most of the smaller ones, all of these less than a meter, are conventional. Meaning they're basically sucked up explosive notes with a much bigger yield that increases as the size of the scroll goes up. But a couple are special. Here he held up a smaller one that was colored mostly in yellow. This one kills off all life within a certain radius, good for when you can't find your target's specific location or if you want to kill a lot of things but save the structures. Here he sealed that one away before picking up one that had a green color to it with light blue bands at the ends. This one sucks all of the air out of a specified diameter, good for putting someone down non-lethally. Sealing that one away again, he picks up one that has a light purple to it. Was Deidara drops down next to him. This one traps everyone within a certain range within a barrier before blowing them to bits while saving everything outside the barrier. Sealing that one away as well, Deidara points to the largest that's colored in mostly black and gray. And this one. Yeah, actually, let me just seal that one away, we don't want to play with that one. Doing as he said, Naruto seals away his latest work before grinning. That one combines a lot of everything that I've learned up until now. Short version, everything within a 10-mile radius gets captured within a barrier that draws energy from everything within it, be it people or nature. Next, the seal converts everything within the barrier into energy, breaking it down to its base components like a lot of my other explosive seals, before collapsing in on itself and storing all of that energy for later use in a new reconstituted scroll. It'll change from black to white depending on how much energy is stored away. Naruto did hold up his left arm, where instead of a group of glowing seals that had been there before, was a single tattoo of a red dot on his inner wrist. You'll need the companion seal to even use that scroll, so it's locked to me and me alone. Conan along with everyone else overheard what he just described, subtly trying her hardest not to freak out completely by what he just said. So not only do you kill everyone trapped inside, but you then use them to fuel the next scroll. Naruto nods. Yup. I figured if I ever got to a point to use this scroll that I'd go full on raze it all to the ground. Deidara has dismissed his bird, dropping to his knees and grabbing Naruto's hand, who is too stunned to pull away. You use the literal blood of your enemies to create a newer and even greater explosion. Nodding again while watching the older man who looking ready to weep, Naruto couldn't help completing his thoughts on it. Well, I figured that sure it'd be easy to kill my enemies in an explosion, but it'd be a lot more fun to force them to protect my home from greater threats later on, yeah. Deidara bows his head with no hesitation. I am yours, Lord Uzumaki. Truly you are a once-in-a-lifetime god of explosions that I could never hope to compare. I weep at your glory. Naruto turns to Konan, who looked ready to throw something at her companion. Does he do this often? Konan shook her head. Never. Deidara looked into Naruto's eyes as the younger teen turned back to face him. I do have just one question, my lord, if I may. Seeing Naruto nod slowly, Deidara presses on. I've only been able to see one of your works, so I have to ask. Why are there depictions of ramen bowls in your fire? Naruto can't help but beam at Hinata and then give tired groans. Someone finally sees it. Yes, I'm finally complete. He'd deal with an apparent terrorist pledging himself to him later. This guy rules. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.